The chairman and the 6-year-old's question. He was cold, arrogant, and feared. The ruthless Wall Street tycoon, Jasper Sterling. But the innocent question from a 6-year-old girl changed everything. What he answered was utterly unexpected. And what unfolded next will shock you to your core. Tell us where you're watching from in the comments. Hit the like button. Let's get right into our story. Chapter 1. The Audacity of Innocence. Melanie didn't know she was doing anything wrong. To her, the man in the sharp suit sitting alone at the massive dining table just looked sad and lonely, just like the grandpa she saw in her mother's photos, the one who had passed away before she was born. "Can I have coffee with you?" she asked, her sweet little voice breaking the heavy silence of the dining room. Jasper Sterling, a powerful man of 45, looked up from his phone, completely stunned. A girl about 6 years old stood beside his table, her blonde hair slightly messy and a bright, eager smile on her face. She was clutching a pink backpack adorned with unicorn drawings. "How did you get in here?" he asked, his voice cold enough to cut the air. "Through the kitchen door," Melanie replied, missing the menacing tone. "My mom works here. She said she was getting some medicine for you, but I got hungry." Jasper blinked. The housekeeper had a daughter? In 3 years, the woman, he didn't even know her full name, had never mentioned anything about her personal life. "Does your mother know you're here?" Melanie bit her lip. "She told me to wait in the pantry, but I saw the carrot cake on the table and—" "You're all alone. No one should have breakfast all alone." Jasper was speechless, not with anger, but with something he couldn't name. When was the last time anyone had cared if he was alone? "You mean that?" he asked, surprising himself. Melanie's blue eyes widened. "Really?" "Before I change my mind." The girl dropped her backpack and scrambled onto the chair beside him, her small feet swinging without touching the floor. She stared at the table laden with fresh breads, pastries, fruits, and juices, as if it were a king's feast. "Wow," she whispered. "Is it always like this?" "Always like what?" "So much food, just for you." Jasper looked at the lavish spread the chef prepared every morning. He barely touched it, eating 2 slices of toast, drinking black coffee, and ignoring the rest. "Yes," he replied dryly. "Always like this." Melanie grabbed a piece of cake with her bare hands, not waiting for him to offer. She took a bite and closed her eyes, savoring it. "It's very good," she said through a mouthful. "Did your wife make it?" "I don't have a wife." "Your mom?" "No." "Then who?" "The chef." "Oh." Melanie thought for a moment, chewing. "My mom makes cake sometimes, but it's not this fluffy. We don't have a mixer." Jasper didn't know why he was still sitting there, listening to the child chatter. He had meetings, calls to make, contracts to review. But something about the unassuming way she ate, the way she smiled, the way she looked at him without fear or reverence, kept him rooted to his chair. "Do you live far?" he asked, wondering why he cared. "In the building across the avenue, in a small apartment, but it's nice. My mom says one day we'll have a house with a backyard." "And your father?" Melanie's smile wavered for the first time. "I don't have a father. I mean, everyone has a father, right? But mine left before I was born. My mom says he wasn't ready to be a dad." Her voice was casual, but Jasper saw the hidden sadness in her blue eyes, a sadness a 6-year-old shouldn't know. "I understand," he murmured. "Do you have kids?" The question hit him like a physical blow. He had had a daughter, Isabella, killed in a car accident with her mother 3 years ago. The pain was still so raw, he avoided thinking, avoided feeling, anything at all. "No," he lied, his voice harsher than intended. "I don't have children." Melanie tilted her head, studying him with that strange intensity of children who see things adults hide. "You're lonely too, aren't you?" she said softly. "Just like me." Before Jasper could respond, the dining room door burst open and Laura rushed in, her face pale with panic. Melanie! She nearly screamed, then checked herself upon seeing her boss. Mr. Sterling, I'm so sorry. I didn't. She stopped, breathless, seeing the impossible scene before her. Her daughter sitting at the billionaire's table, calmly eating cake, while he didn't look furious. He just looked tired. Laura, Jasper said, and it was the first time in 3 years he had used her name. Your daughter asked if she could have breakfast with me. Laura turned white. Sir, I swear it wasn't intentional. She escaped the pantry and I said yes. The silence that followed was absolute. Laura blinked, confused. You said yes? She's 6 and she was hungry. He stood up, grabbing his suit jacket from the chair. I'm not a monster. But his eyes said otherwise. They said he had seen something in that little girl that had completely disarmed him. Finish your cake, he said to Melanie, his voice softening in a way he didn't recognize. And next time, ask your mother to bring you through the front door. Melanie beamed a huge smile that lit up the whole room. So I can come back? Jasper looked at Laura, who was frozen, then right back at the girl. Those hopeful blue eyes made something crack inside him. Yes, he said, and walked out of the room before anyone could see the emotion crossing his face. Laura sank into a chair, her legs weak. What did you do, Melanie? I just asked if I could have coffee with him, Mom, Melanie replied innocently, licking the frosting off her fingers. He was so lonely. Laura looked at the door through which her boss had exited. For the first time in 3 years, she had seen something besides coldness in those brown eyes. She had seen pain, the same pain she carried. And somehow, her daughter had touched it. You can't do that again, Laura said. But her voice lacked conviction. But he said I could come back, Melanie argued. Through the front door, Laura sighed. She had a terrible premonition about this. Bosses didn't invite housekeepers' daughters for breakfast. They didn't change their minds just like that. Something had happened in that room. Something she didn't yet understand. And she was afraid to find out what it was. Chapter 2. Cracks in the Facade. Laura spent the rest of the morning on edge, waiting for Jasper to reverse his decision. To shout. To fire her. But he didn't appear. He locked himself in his office and didn't even come out for lunch. Melanie stayed in the kitchen, drawing in an old notebook while Laura worked. The girl hummed softly, too happy to understand the tension filling every room of the mansion. Mom, can I take a drawing to the coffee man? She asked at 3 in the afternoon, holding up a paper full of colorful flowers and a smiling stick figure. No, Mel, he's busy. But I drew him here. Melanie pointed to the figure. He was sad this morning. Now, I drew him happy. Laura's heart clenched. Her daughter had a dangerous gift, seeing pain where others saw only indifference. Keep the drawing, sweetie. You can give it to him another day. Laura returned to polishing the silver, her hands working automatically while her mind spun. Why had he let Melanie sit at the table? Why hadn't he yelled? Why hadn't he been the cold, distant man he always was? The answer came as a sound, a muffled sob coming from the office. Laura dropped the cloth and walked slowly to the closed door. She pressed her ear to the dark wood. Jasper was crying on the other side, a desperate, contained sob he thought no one heard. She quickly backed away, her heart pounding. She had never heard that man show emotion, not when he came home drunk in the early hours, not when he broke things in his office. Never. What had Melanie done? That evening, as Laura left with her daughter through the back door, she found a white envelope on the kitchen counter. Her name was written on it in Jasper's firm handwriting. She opened it with trembling fingers. Inside was cash, a substantial amount, and a short note. To buy a mixer and whatever else you need. J.S. Laura looked at Melanie, who yawned sleepily, holding her hand. The girl had mentioned the mixer that morning during her conversation with him. He had listened, He had cared. Tears stung her eyes, but she held them back. She put the money in her purse and left, her mind reeling with unnameable emotions. The next morning, Laura arrived at 6 as usual. She made the coffee, tidied the dining room, and set the table. She hoped everything would return to normal, that the strange moment from the day before would be forgotten. But when Jasper came downstairs at 7, he didn't go straight to his office. He sat at the table, looked at the empty chair next to his, and asked, "Is your daughter not coming today?" Laura nearly dropped the juice pitcher. "Sir? The girl? Melanie?" He avoided her eyes. "Is she at school?" "Yes, sir. She starts at 7:30. He frowned, a shadow of disappointment crossing his face. He picked up a slice of toast and began eating mechanically. Laura stood there, unsure what to do. He wanted to see Melanie again. "Why?" "Mr. Sterling," she began cautiously. "About yesterday, and about the money. You don't need it back. It's just, I don't understand why you did that." Jasper finally looked at her. His eyes were red, tired, but there was something different in them, a vulnerability that hadn't been there before. "She reminded me of someone," he said simply. "Who?" He looked away. His jaw tight. "Someone I lost." Laura didn't press. She recognized the tone of grief. She used it herself when Melanie asked about her father. "She could come tomorrow?" Laura offered softly. "If you want, sir. She doesn't have school on Saturdays." Jasper's eyes lit up for a fraction of a second before he controlled himself. "If it doesn't interfere with your work." "It won't interfere." He nodded and returned to eating. But Laura saw his hands tremble slightly as he held the cup. Chapter 3. The Saturday Ritual. On Saturday, Melanie arrived excited, wearing her best dress, a faded yellow one Laura had sewn herself. She clutched the drawing she had made. Jasper was already waiting in the dining room. He had instructed the chef to prepare pancakes, fruit cut into star shapes, and hot chocolate with marshmallows. "Good morning," Melanie bounced in, full of joy. "I brought you a drawing." She held out the paper. Jasper took it carefully, as if it were made of crystal. He studied the drawing in silence. The smiling stick figure, the flowers, the yellow sun in the corner. "Is this me?" he asked, his voice strangely hoarse. "Yes, I drew you happy because you deserve to be happy." Something broke inside him. Laura saw it happen. She saw the cold, distant man shatter before her daughter's innocent eyes. "Thank you," he whispered. "No one has ever—" "Thank you." Melanie smiled and climbed onto the chair next to him, immediately grabbing a pancake. "Wow, there's hot chocolate. Mom, look, real hot chocolate." Laura watched from the kitchen door, unable to move. Jasper wasn't eating. He was just observing Melanie with an intensity that was both frightening and moving. "Do you like to draw?" he asked. "I love it, but I ran out of colored pencils. I only have 4 colors now." "What colors do you have?" "Red, blue, yellow, and green." Melanie made a face. "I wish I had pink. Pink is my favorite color." "Why pink?" "Because it's the color of princesses and pretty flowers and unicorns." Jasper almost smiled. "What if I give you new colored pencils?" he offered. "A complete box with pink and all the other colors." Melanie's eyes widened. "Really? But they're expensive." "They're not. My mom says we can't ask people for things." "You didn't ask," I offered. He looked at the tense Laura. "Does your mother allow it?" Laura wanted to say no. She wanted to shield her daughter from this strange situation, from this rich man who was suddenly showing interest in a child who was nothing to him. But she saw the hope in Melanie's eyes and couldn't deny her. "If the gentleman insists, I insist." Melanie jumped down from her chair and, before anyone could stop her, hugged Jasper around the waist. He froze, completely still, as if he had forgotten how to hug. His hands hovered in the air for long seconds, unsure where to land. Then, slowly, he placed them on the girl's back. He closed his eyes. And for the first time in 3 years, Jasper Sterling allowed himself to feel something other than pain. When Melanie let go, he cleared his throat quickly and returned to his cold mask. But Laura had seen. She had seen the tears he held back. "Finish your breakfast," he said to Melanie, his voice trembling. "I need to make some calls." He hurried out, but he didn't go to his office. He went to the hallway bathroom, where he stayed for 15 minutes with the faucet running, so no one would hear his crying. Laura sat down at this table with Melanie, her heart heavy with worry. "Mel, do you like him?" "I do, he's nice. He just seems sad inside." "What if I ask you not to get too attached?" Melanie looked at her with those wise blue eyes. "Mom, he needs friends. He's very lonely in this huge house." "He's my boss, Mel, not our friend. Why can't he be both?" Laura had no answer for that. Chapter 4. Breaking the Boundaries. The following weeks established a strange routine. Every Saturday, Melanie came to the mansion with Laura. She had breakfast with Jasper. They talked. Or rather, Melanie talked, and he listened, asking occasional questions. He bought the colored pencils, then drawing paper, then paints, a doll, books, a winter coat when he saw Melanie shivering. Laura tried to refuse, but he wouldn't take no for an answer. "She needs these things," he said firmly, "and I can buy them." "But sir—" "Jasper," he surprised her. "You can call me Jasper, at least when no one else is here." Laura swallowed hard. The implied intimacy of the request frightened her. "It wouldn't be appropriate, sir." "Why not?" "Because I work for you. There are rules, boundaries." He studied her for a long moment. "What if I don't want those boundaries anymore?" Laura's heart raced. "What are you saying?" But before he could answer, Melanie burst into the kitchen, holding a new drawing. "Jasper, look! I drew your house!" He knelt down to her height, smiling. A genuine smile Laura had never seen before. "It looks beautiful. But do you know what's missing?" "What?" "You." He pointed to the drawing. "Draw yourself here in the front, playing in the garden. But I don't live here. What if you did?" The world stopped. Laura looked at him, incredulous. Melanie blinked, confused. "What do you mean?" Jasper looked at Laura over Melanie's head. His eyes spoke volumes his mouth couldn't utter. "It's just a thought," he murmured. But it wasn't, and everyone in the kitchen knew it. Chapter 5. The Confession. Laura couldn't sleep that night. Jasper's words echoed in her mind. What if you did? It was crazy, dangerous, inappropriate. She was the housekeeper. He was the millionaire boss. There were lines that shouldn't be crossed, worlds that didn't mix. But Melanie had crossed those lines without even realizing it. And she was dragging Jasper with her. On Monday, when Laura arrived for work, she found Jasper in the kitchen at 6 in the morning. He never woke up that early. "Good morning," he said awkwardly, holding a cup of coffee he had made himself. The liquid was too black, probably bitter. "Good morning, sir." "Jasper," he corrected gently. Laura pretended not to hear and began preparing breakfast. He stood there, watching in silence. His presence made the air thick, heavy with unspoken things. "About Saturday," he began. "I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable." "You didn't." "Laura, look at me." She stopped cutting fruit, but didn't turn around. "Please," he insisted. She took a deep breath and faced him. Jasper was different. The impeccable suit was there, but his eyes held a new softness, a vulnerability he no longer hid. "No, I don't know what's happening to me," he admitted. "Ever since Melanie walked into that room and asked if she could have breakfast with me, He ran a hand through his hair. "Something shifted. I changed." "Sir," my daughter's name was Isabella. She was 4 when she died. The words rushed out as if he needed to expel them before regretting it. "Car accident. Her and my wife, 3 years ago." Laura felt the air rush out of her. She finally understood. The empty house, the obsessive work, the coldness. I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I stopped living that day." He looked at his own hands. "I worked 20 hours a day, not to think, not to feel. I turned this house into a tomb, and I turned myself into a ghost." "Mr. Sterling." "Jasper," he insisted more firmly. "Please, I need you to see me as a person, not as a boss, just for a moment." Laura nodded slowly, her heart racing. "Your daughter reminded me what it's like to be alive," he continued. "Her innocence, her joy, the way she asked if she could sit with me, as if it were the most natural thing in the world, as if I wasn't this bitter, closed-off man everyone avoids." "Melanie has that gift," Laura said softly. "She doesn't see barriers. She only sees people. She's special. I know. And you." He took a step forward. "You raised this incredible girl alone. You work as hard as I do, but you haven't lost your humanity. How do you do it?" Laura smiled sadly. "Because I have a reason to wake up every day. Melanie is my light. Without her, I would be a ghost too." Jasper studied her in silence. For the first time, he truly saw her. Not the housekeeper in a blue uniform who cleaned his house, but the 28-year-old woman with tired brown eyes and hands calloused from hard work. The woman who smiled at her daughter, even when she was exhausted. "I want to help you," he said. "Both of you. Not out of charity, but because you make me want to be better." "Sir, we don't need—" "Yes, you do." He pointed to her uniform. "You work 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, for a salary that barely covers the rent. Melanie deserves more. You deserve more. I don't want your pity." "It's not pity. It's—" He searched for the words. "Gratitude. You gave me back something I thought I'd lost forever." Before Laura could answer, the doorbell rang. She frowned. 7 in the morning, who could it be? Jasper went to the door, annoyed by the interruption. He returned minutes later with a grim expression, followed by an elegant woman in her 50s, dressed entirely in black, with expensive jewelry and an icy gaze. "Laura, could you excuse us?" Jasper said, tense. "No need," the woman spoke, her aristocratic voice cutting the air. "She needs to hear this too. After all, it's about her and her daughter that I came to speak." Laura froze. "Mother." That was Helena Sterling, the family matriarch. Laura had never seen her in person, only in society magazines. "Don't start, Mother," Jasper warned. "Don't start?" Helena let out a humorless laugh. "My driver tells me you've been hosting a child here on Saturdays. A girl. The housekeeper's daughter. So what? So what?" "It's causing talk, Jasper. People are gossiping. They say you're different, softer, that you're getting attached to a child who isn't yours. That's nobody's business." "It is business when it affects the family name." Helena's voice rose. She looked at Laura with disdain. "Have you forgotten who you are? Did you forget Isabella so quickly?" Jasper turned white with rage. "Don't you dare speak her name." "Someone has to. You are replacing your own daughter with some nobody." "Be careful," he hissed, dangerously calm. "Be very careful what you say." Helena turned to the paralyzed Laura. "How much do you want?" "What?" Laura barely managed to speak. "How much money do you want to leave here and take your daughter? To stop manipulating my son?" "I'm not manipulating anyone." Helena took a step forward. "Your daughter conveniently shows up, all cute and needy, at the exact moment my son is vulnerable. Do you think I'm an idiot, Maid'S?" "Mother, enough!" Jasper placed himself between the two women. "Laura did nothing wrong. Of course she did. She saw an opportunity and she grabbed it. Women like her always do." Laura felt the tears burn, but she didn't let them fall. She straightened her shoulders. "You don't know me. You don't know my daughter. You know nothing about us. I know everything I need to know. You are an employee. Your place is not at the dining table with my son. Your place is in the kitchen. Get out of my house," Jasper said, his voice low and deadly. "Now." Helena blinked, surprise. "What? You heard me. Get out of my house before I throw you out. Jasper, you're making a mistake. The mistake was opening the door to you. He pointed to the exit. Leave, Mother, and don't come back until you learn to respect the people I choose to have in my life. Helena looked from one to the other, incredulous. Then she grabbed her purse with a sharp movement. You will regret this, she said. When this woman uses you and destroys you, you'll see I was right. Goodbye, Mother. Helena stormed out, slamming the door. The silence that remained was deafening. Laura leaned against the counter, trembling. I need to go, she whispered. No, sir, your mother is right. This is wrong. I can't. She is not right. Jasper approached her. She's afraid that I'll find happiness outside her world, outside her rules. But people will talk. Let them talk. He took Laura's hands, a bold gesture that made her gasp. I spent 3 years feeling nothing, not living. Melanie showed me that joy still exists in the world. And you, he looked into her eyes, you show me that kindness, strength, dignity still exist. I'm just a housekeeper. You are much more than that. You are an incredible mother, a tireless worker, a woman who doesn't bend to adversity. His hand squeezed hers. And I won't let my mother or anyone else make you believe you are anything less. Laura finally let the tears fall. I'm scared, she admitted. Scared of losing my job. Scared of what's happening here. Scared that Melanie will get too attached and then what? Then you'll tire of us. Go back to being the cold man you were, and my daughter's heart will break. Jasper let go of her hands and stepped back, the pain evident on his face. You think I would do that? I don't know what you would do. I don't know you. Then let me show you who I am. He held her gaze. Give me a chance to prove this isn't a whim, that I won't abandon you. How? Jasper took a deep breath, as if about to jump off a cliff. Saturday is Melanie's birthday, isn't it? Laura blinked, surprised he knew. Yes, how did you? She mentioned it. Said she's turning 7. He smiled faintly. Let me throw a party for her. Here, with everything she deserves. Sir, that's too much. It's the least I can do. His eyes pleaded. Please, let me do this for her. For both of you. Laura knew she should say no. She knew every step in that direction was dangerous. That she was entering uncharted territory, where she could lose everything. But she looked at Jasper. Not the boss, but the broken man her daughter had begun to heal. And she couldn't refuse. All right, she whispered, but nothing too extravagant. Melanie isn't used to it. It will be perfect, I promise. He smiled a genuine smile that lit up his entire face, and Laura realized, with a clutch of her heart, that she was starting to see Jasper Sterling not as the cold, distant tycoon, but as the lonely, wounded man behind the mask. And that was more dangerous than anything else. Chapter 6. The Pink Wonderland. Jasper didn't throw a party. He threw a spectacular show. When Laura arrived on Saturday with Melanie, she found the garden transformed into a pink and gold wonderland. A long table was covered with sweets, cakes, and snacks. There was an inflatable castle, a ball pit, and in the center of it all, a small stage where a woman dressed as a princess was waiting. Mom! Melanie let go of her hand and ran, her eyes wide with wonder. Is this real? Is this all for me? Jasper walked out of the house wearing jeans and a casual shirt. Laura had never seen him without a suit. He looked younger, almost vulnerable. Happy birthday, Mel, he said, kneeling down to the girl's height. Melanie hugged him tightly, laughing. It's the best birthday ever. Over the girl's head, Jasper looked at Laura. His eyes asked, Did I overdo it? She smiled despite the lump in her throat. Yes, he had overdone it. But Melanie's happiness was worth any excess. The party was magical. Melanie played in the castle, received a performance from the princess, and blew out candles on a 3-tier cake decorated with unicorns. Jasper participated in everything. He jumped in the bouncy castle, had his face painted with her, and even let Melanie put a ridiculous tiara on his head. Laura watched from a distance, her heart aching. The man who laughed with her daughter, who played without concern for his dignity, was a stranger. The cold, distant Jasper had vanished completely, and this frightened her as much as it enchanted her. "She's happy," a voice said beside her. Laura turned and saw a woman in her mid-30s, elegant but friendly, holding a glass of champagne. "Sorry, I'm Beatrice, Jasper's sister-in-law, or ex-sister-in-law technically. She was married to his brother." "Laura," she replied tensely. "More Sterling family, more trouble." "Relax," Beatrice smiled. "I'm not like Helena. I came because Jasper called me personally and asked. He said it was important." "Important? He never asks anyone." "It's anyone for anything." "So, when he called, saying he needed me here to meet someone special," Beatrice looked from Laura to Melanie. "I had to see it with my own eyes. See the miracle." Beatrice took a sip of champagne. "That man playing and laughing there? I haven't seen that in 3 years. Not since he lost Isabella and Camila." Laura swallowed hard at the names. "He told you?" "He did. About the accident. It was horrific. Jasper blamed himself. He said if he had gone with them, if he had driven instead of Camila, maybe." She shook her head. "He buried himself alive in work. He rejected everyone. Family, friends. He became an empty shell." "I know," Laura murmured. "I've worked for him for 3 years." "Then you've seen the before and the after." Beatrice stared at her. "Your daughter did something none of us could. She brought him back. She was just herself. Melanie doesn't see malice. She doesn't know social barriers. She saw a lonely man and wanted to keep him company, and he fell in love with her. Not in the wrong way," Beatrice quickly clarified, "but the way a father falls in love, like someone who found a reason to live again." Laura looked at Jasper, who was now carrying Melanie on his back, running through the garden while she screamed with delight. That scares me," she admitted. "Because one day this fantasy will end, and when it ends, my daughter will suffer." "You think it's a fantasy? What else could it be? He's a millionaire. We live in a small apartment. We live in different worlds." "My ex-husband thought that way," Beatrice said, "obsessed with class and status, with what was appropriate. You know where that led our marriage? To divorce." She sighed. "I learned that happiness has no social class. It exists or it doesn't. Period. But people, they'll talk. They always talk." Beatrice shrugged. "Helena is already spreading venom, saying you're a gold digger, that your daughter is manipulative. It's ridiculous, but that's what she does. She controls through fear and shame. Maybe she's right. Maybe I should keep my distance." "Do you want to keep your distance?" Laura opened her mouth, but couldn't lie. "No," she whispered. "God forgive me, but no. For the first time in years, I feel something beyond tiredness, something beyond survival." Beatrice smiled. "Then don't let the fear of Helena or anyone else steal that from you." The party stretched into the evening. As the decorators began clearing up, Melanie was exhausted, sleeping in Jasper's lap on the living room sofa. Laura walked in and stopped, capturing the scene. He was stroking the girl's hair with a tenderness that broke the heart, his eyes fixed on her angelic face. "She's asleep," Laura said softly. "I'm sorry. I think I overdid the party. She must be exhausted. She's happy. It's different." Jasper looked up at her, and there was something new in his eyes, something intense and frightening. "Laura, I need to tell you something." "What?" He hesitated, clearly struggling with the words. "I know this is crazy. I know it happened too fast, but I can't pretend anymore that you are just the housekeeper and her daughter to me. You've become more, much more." Laura's heart pounded. "Mr. Sterling." "Jasper," he insisted. "Please, just Jasper." Jasper, she repeated, her voice trembling. You're confusing gratitude with something else. Melanie reminded you of your daughter. It's natural that— No. He gently placed Melanie on the sofa, covering her with a blanket, then stood up and walked over to Laura. It was that at first, but now, when I see her, I don't see Isabella. I see Melanie, an incredible girl who is special on her own. And when I see you— He stopped right in front of her, so close that Laura felt his heat. When I see you, I see strength, dignity, a woman who fights every day for her daughter, who never gives up, who smiles even when she's tired. A woman who makes me want to be better, who makes me want to wake up in the morning. Stop, Laura whispered, tears in her eyes. Please, stop. Why? Because I can't. We can't. She looked at Melanie. My daughter is already too attached. If this is just a phase, if you wake up one day and realize it was a mistake, her heart will be broken. And you? He asked softly. Will you also be broken? Laura didn't answer. She didn't have to. The answer was written on her face. Jasper reached out and gently wiped away a tear that streamed down her cheek. I won't wake up and change my mind, he promised. This isn't a phase. It's not an illusion. For the first time in 3 years, I feel alive. And it's because of you both. People will judge us. Your family. To hell with people. To hell with my family. His voice was firm, determined. I lost 3 years of my life living to please expectations, following rules that didn't make me happy. I won't waste any more time. And if I say I'm scared, that this is too big, too fast, then we take it slowly. He held her hands. But don't ask me to pretend I don't feel what I feel. Don't ask me to go back to being that cold, dead man inside. Laura looked at his hands, holding hers. Hands that had never done hard labor, but were now trembling with genuine emotion. Then she looked at Melanie, sleeping peacefully on the sofa, a soft smile on her lips. Her daughter deserved to have a father figure. She deserved to have someone who looked at her with the affection Jasper showed. And Laura? God, Laura deserved to be looked at the way he looked at her now. As if she mattered. As if she were more than an employee, more than an obligation. I'm scared too, she admitted. But I don't want you to stop. I don't want you to go back to being that man. The smile that lit up Jasper's face could warm the whole winter. Then stay, he asked. Both of you. Not as an employee, as family. Family? I know it's too soon to talk about it, but I don't want you to work for me anymore. I want you to live here. I want Melanie to have her own room, toys, everything she deserves. I want— The front door burst open. Helena Sterling entered like a hurricane, followed by 2 men in suits. Her face was red with rage. I warned you, she spat. I warned you you were making a mistake, but you wouldn't listen. Mother, get out of here, Jasper said, standing in front of Laura. Now. I won't leave. I came here to stop you from destroying everything our family built. She pointed at Laura. You think I don't know what's happening? You think I don't have eyes? I don't care what you know. You should care, because I brought lawyers, and we're going to settle this the civilized way. Settle what? She will receive a generous check and an excellent letter of recommendation. In exchange, she leaves and never comes back, never contacts you again. Laura's blood ran cold. You can't buy me. Everyone has a price, Helena said coldly. And we found yours, $500,000. Thus, more than you'd earn in 20 years of work. Jasper turned white with anger. You have no right! I have every right. I am your mother and the majority shareholder of the family businesses. And if you continue with this madness, I will call an extraordinary meeting and remove you from the chairmanship. You wouldn't do that. Watch me. Helena's eyes were steel. Either you end this situation, or I end your career. You choose. The silence that fell was suffocating. Melanie stirred on the sofa, still asleep, oblivious to the nightmare unfolding around her. Jasper looked from his mother to Laura. His face was a mask of anguish. "Give me some time," he said to Helena. "A few days to think." "You have until Monday," Helena replied. After that, I called a meeting. She left with the lawyers, leaving a chilling void behind. Laura carefully picked up Melanie, avoiding looking at Jasper. "I need to go," she whispered. "No, sir, your mother is right. This went too far. I'm quitting on Monday." "Don't do that. We can fight." "Fight what? Your entire family? The whole world?" She hugged Melanie tighter. "I can't risk everything I've built for an impossible dream." "It's not impossible." "Yes, it is. It always has been." She walked toward the door, her heart broken. "Thank you for the party. Melanie will never forget." "Neither will I, Laura. Wait." But she didn't wait. She walked out, carrying her sleeping daughter, leaving behind the man who, for a few magical weeks, had made her believe the fairy tales could be real. Jasper stood in the empty room, surrounded by deflated balloons and party remnants, feeling the world crumble around him for the second time in 3 years. And this time, he knew exactly what he had lost. Chapter 7. The Choice and the Collapse. Laura didn't show up on Monday or Tuesday. On Wednesday, Jasper received a resignation letter delivered by mail, formal and cold, without a single personal word. He crumpled the paper and threw it into the fireplace, watching it burn. Then he grabbed his car keys. The neighborhood where Laura lived was across the avenue, a brutal contrast to his mansion. Small houses, narrow streets, children playing barefoot. Jasper had never set foot there, but he found the address easily. He knocked on the door of the small apartment at the back of the lot. No one answered. "She's not here," an elderly neighbor said from the window next door. "She left early with the girl. For the hospital, I think." Jasper's heart plummeted. "Hospital? What happened?" "The little one is sick. High fever since yesterday." He ran back to the car. He found them in the public emergency room, in the crowded waiting area. Melanie was pale in Laura's lap, trembling even wrapped in 2 blankets. Laura's face was marked by exhaustion and worry. "Laura," he called, breathless. She looked up, surprised and frightened. "What are you doing here?" "I came to see you. I heard Melanie is sick." He knelt in front of them. "What happened?" "Fever, 104 degrees. Laura hugged her daughter closer. "I've been waiting for 3 hours to see a doctor." Jasper looked around. The overcrowded room, people groaning in the corridors. The single doctor visibly overworked. His jaw hardened. "Come with me," he ordered. "Bourgeois." "Jasper." "Now, Laura." He was already picking up Melanie. The girl opened her eyes briefly and murmured, "Jasper," and fainted again. "My car is out front. I'm taking you to the private hospital. I don't have the money for—" "I do. Let's go." Laura hesitated only a second before following him. Melanie's health came before pride. At the private hospital, everything happened fast. Pediatrician, tests, private room. 2 hours later, they had the diagnosis. Pneumonia. Severe, but treatable with antibiotics and hospitalization. Melanie slept in the bed, connected to IVs. Finally resting. Laura sat beside her, holding her tiny hand, silent tears streaming down her face. "I should have noticed sooner," she whispered. "She complained of chest pain yesterday, but I thought it was just the flu. I should have." "You did the best you could," Jasper said, sitting on the other side of the bed. "Don't blame yourself. If you hadn't shown up, we would still be waiting. And if she got worse." "But she didn't get worse. She's going to be fine." Laura looked at him through her tears. "Why did you do this? After everything?" "Because I love you," he said simply. "Both of you." The silence that followed was charged with emotion. "Jasper, you can't love us just like that, out of nowhere. That's not—" "Love doesn't have a deadline, Laura. It doesn't have a manual." He looked at Melanie. "This girl walked into my life and showed me that light still exists in the world. And you You showed me that hope still exists, that I can start over, that I deserve to start over. But your mother, your family, I talked to them." He sighed. "It was a war. I won't lie. My mother threatened, yelled, called me crazy. But in the end, I said something I had never said before." "What?" "No." He smiled faintly. "Simply no. I won't give up my happiness for fear of what they think. I won't let you leave because she decided you're not good enough. And the company? She called the meeting anyway. Yesterday." Jasper shrugged. "Beatrice voted with me, and 2 other shareholders did too. My mother lost." Laura blinked, incredulous. "You risked everything." "I risked nothing. Because without you two, I had nothing anyway. Just an empty house and a dead heart." He reached his hand across the bed, touching her face. "You gave me back my life, Laura. Let me be part of yours too." "I'm so scared," she confessed. "Scared to believe this and then lose everything. Then we'll be scared together." He smiled. "But at least we won't be alone." Melanie stirred in bed, slowly opening her eyes. "Mom," she murmured, her voice weak. "I'm here, love. Is Jasper here too?" "I am," he replied, taking her other tiny hand. "And I'm not going anywhere." Melanie smiled, her eyes already closing again. "Good, because I dreamed you were leaving, and I was sad." "I'm never leaving," he promised, his voice choked. "Promise for real." Can you be my dad?" she asked sleepily. "Not for real, because my dad left, but from the heart." Jasper looked at Laura, who was holding back tears. She nodded slowly. "Yes, little one," he whispered. "It would be an honor." "So now we're family?" Melanie murmured, almost asleep. "You, me, and my mom?" Jasper looked at Laura, his eyes asking a silent question. She took a deep breath, letting the fear go, and smiled through her tears. "Yes, my love," Laura replied. "Now we are family." And there, in that hospital room, surrounded by the beeping of machines and the soft light of dawn, 3 lonely hearts finally found their place in the world. Together. Chapter 8. The Adoption and the Real Beginning. Melanie was discharged 3 days later, more animated than ever, telling all the nurses she now had a dad from the heart. Laura watched, embarrassed, as her daughter showed off the drawings Jasper had brought every day. Colored pencils, notebooks, even a tablet for watching cartoons. "I didn't have all this before," Laura murmured as they packed things in the room. "And now you do," Jasper replied naturally, as if spending a fortune on gifts were the most normal thing in the world. "Get used to it, because there will be much more." "Jasper, we need to talk about this. You can't just—" "Yes, I can," he smiled. "I'm rich, remember? Let me use my money for something that truly matters." Laura sighed. It was a battle she knew she would lose. On the way home, Melanie started asking questions from the back seat. "Jasper, are we going to live with you now?" He looked at Laura, waiting for her to answer. She bit her lip, uncertain. "Mel, it's complicated." "Why is it complicated?" The child's logic was relentless. "If we're family, family lives together, right?" "Your mother is right to be cautious," Jasper said. "Things happened quickly. We can go slowly." "But I want to live in the castle," Melanie pouted. "It has a huge garden and a room just for me, you said." "Yes, I did, and the offer still stands." "When your mother is ready." Laura looked out the window, her heart aching. Going back to the tiny apartment, after seeing how life could be, seemed impossible. But accepting everything Jasper offered was also frightening. "What if it doesn't work out?" she asked softly. "What if in a few months you realize it was a mistake?" "It won't be a mistake," he replied with conviction. "But if it makes you feel better, we'll make a deal. You move in, but you don't depend on me financially. You keep working if you want, or you study, take a course, Whatever you've always wanted to do. He looked at her. I want you to stay because you want to, not because you need to. I always wanted to finish high school, Laura admitted. I stopped when I got pregnant with Melanie, but I never had time to go back. Then go back now. There are night classes, online programs, lots of options. Jasper smiled. And who knows, maybe college after that. College? Laura let out a humorless laugh. That's too big a dream. No dream is too big. Melanie clapped from the back seat. Mommy's going to study, and I'll help you with your homework. They laughed. And for the first time in days, Laura felt something besides fear. She felt hope. The move happened the following weekend. Laura didn't have much. A few clothes, old books, photos in cheap frames. Everything fit into 4 boxes. Is that all? Jasper asked, surprised, looking at the boxes in the trunk. We never had much, Laura replied without bitterness. It was just a fact. But it was always enough. He pulled her into an unexpected hug. Now you'll have everything you deserve, I promise. At the mansion, Melanie ran from room to room, awestruck. Jasper had prepared a room for her. Walls painted light pink, a princess canopy bed, shelves full of books and toys. Mom, come see, it has a giant dollhouse, Melanie shouted from the hallway. Laura walked into the room, her vision blurred with tears. It was the room every girl dreamed of. Everything she had never been able to give her daughter. Thank you for all this, she whispered to Jasper, who was leaning against the door, for making her so happy. I want to make both of you happy every day. He showed Laura's room, actually a huge suite with a walk-in closet and a jacuzzi tub. She was stunned. This is bigger than my whole old apartment. It's yours now, your space. He hesitated. It's in the same hallway as my room, but if you prefer something more distant. No. She held his hand. Here is perfect. They looked at each other for a long moment, the anticipation palpable between them. Jasper approached slowly, giving her time to back away. She didn't. May I? He whispered. Yes. The kiss was soft, almost hesitant, as if both had forgotten how. But then Laura melted against him, her arms around his neck, and Jasper held her as if she were the most precious thing in the world. Ew! Melanie appeared at the door. You're kissing! They separated, laughing, their faces flushed. Sorry, little one, Jasper said, not looking sorry at all. It's okay. Melanie shrugged. At school, the teacher said when people really like each other, they kiss. Do you really like each other? Laura looked at Jasper, and he looked at her. Yes, they replied together. Very much. Melanie smiled. Touch his foot. Great. Now come see my dollhouse. The first few weeks were an adjustment period. Melanie adjusted quickly. After all, for her, everything was an adventure. Laura took longer, still catching herself waking up at 5 in the morning out of habit, still finding it strange to be served instead of serving. Jasper had infinite patience. When she tried to clean the house, he held her hands. There are people paid for that. You're not the housekeeper here anymore. I know, but it's hard not to do anything. Then don't do anything work-related. Do something for yourself. Read a book. Take a long bath. Play with Melanie. Live, Laura. She enrolled in night school 3 times a week. She went to class while Jasper stayed with Melanie. Seeing him helping his daughter with homework, playing with dolls, reading bedtime stories, made Laura's heart overflow. But not everything was rosy. Helena Sterling did not give up. She showed up unannounced, always with some venomous criticism. Her presence made the house tense, Melanie quiet and frightened. How long is this going to last? Helena asked one afternoon, finding Laura in the kitchen. This happy family fantasy? It's not a fantasy, Laura replied, keeping her voice firm, even with her heart racing. Of course it is. You think my son really loves you? Helena laughed cruelly. You're convenient. a cheap substitute for what he lost. When he tires of you, when reality hits, you'll go back to where you belong. Her place is here, Jasper said from the doorway, his voice icy. And I've warned you, Mother, respect Laura or don't come back here again. She has you under a spell, Helena spat. I can't believe you don't see it. The only spell here was the one you cast for years, making me believe I had to live by your rules. Jasper approached. But I woke up, and I won't go back to being that dead man inside. Helena looked from one to the other, defeated for the first time. You'll regret this, she said, but her voice faltered. When this ends badly, don't come crying to me. She left with wounded dignity, leaving a heavy silence. She's right about one thing, Laura said softly. People will always question, always doubt. Let them doubt. Jasper pulled her into his arms. I know what I feel. I know what I have. And I won't let anyone ruin this. But that night, as Laura looked at Melanie sleeping in her princess room, the fear returned. What if Helena was right? What if she really was just a substitute? And what if one day Jasper woke up and realized he had made a mistake? She didn't know that. In the next room, Jasper was awake with the same fears. Fear of not being good enough. Fear of failing them, as he had failed his first family. Fear that his past would always chase any attempt at a future. Two hearts haunted by different ghosts, trying to build something new on old ruins, and unaware that the biggest test was yet to come. Chapter 9. The Ghost of the Past Returns. The next morning, Jasper woke up to a phone call. His face paled as he listened. I understand. Thank you for letting me know, he said, hanging up with trembling hands. Laura entered the kitchen and saw his expression. What is it? He looked at her, his eyes filled with a pain she hadn't seen in weeks. My mother hired a private investigator to look into your past. His voice was tense, and he found something. Laura's blood ran cold. What? Melanie's father. He's alive, and he wants to meet his daughter. Laura's world crumbled. Laura couldn't hide the truth from Melanie for long. The girl was too smart. She sensed the tension in the air like an animal sensing a storm. Mom, why are you sad? She asked one morning, while having breakfast in the huge kitchen that still seemed like a dream to Laura. Jasper was there too, having coffee with them as he did every day. The three looked at each other, and he gave her an encouraging nod. Mel, sit here next to me, Laura said, pulling out a chair. I need to tell you something important. Melanie sat, her blue eyes wide with curiosity and a little fear. You know your biological father left before you were born, right? I know. He wasn't ready to be my dad. Melanie repeated the words she had heard all her life. But it's okay. Now I have Jasper. Laura's heart tightened. It's about that, love. Your biological father. He came back. He wants to meet you. The silence that fell was heavy. Melanie looked from Laura to Jasper, confused. But I don't know him. I know, my love. That's why he wants to meet you now. Does he know my name? Does he know I like to draw? Does he know my favorite color is pink? Laura shook her head, tears threatening to fall. No, honey. He doesn't know those things. Melanie was quiet for a long moment, her 7-year-old mind processing information too complex for her age. Jasper knows, she finally said, turning to him. You know everything about me. Yes, I do, Jasper replied, his voice choked. I know you like pancakes with syrup, that you're afraid of the dark, but pretend you're not. That when you get nervous, you twist a lock of hair around your finger. I know everything, little one. Then you are my real dad. It wasn't a question. It was an affirmation. The other man is just someone who helped make me. But you are the one who chose to stay. Laura sobbed, pulling her daughter into a tight hug. You don't have to decide now, love. You can think about it calmly. I already thought about it. Melanie pulled away, wiping her mother's tears with her little hands. I don't want to meet him. I already have a dad. I want to stay with both of you. Jasper stood up and hugged both of them. And there, in the sunny kitchen, the three of them cried and laughed at the same time. Chapter 10. The Ultimate Choice. Diego's lawyer didn't like the answer. The girl is too young to decide that, he argued, in a tense meeting at the law office. The judge will consider that she was influenced. Influenced? Laura's lawyer, a serious man named Dr. Harrison, countered. The child simply knows who has been present in her life, and who has not. My client has the right. Your client abandoned a pregnant teenager, Dr. Harrison interrupted. He didn't pay a penny of support in 7 years. He didn't register the child. He made no untort. And now, conveniently, when the mother is with a wealthy man, he shows up wanting rights? Diego turned red. It's not about money. Then what is it about? Jasper asked, his voice icy. Because from where I stand, you had 7 years to look for your daughter. 7 years to be a man and take responsibility. And you did nothing. I didn't know where they were. You only had to look. Laura spoke for the first time, her voice firm. You knew my full name. You knew my mother's name. If you really wanted to, you would have found us. But you didn't want to, until now. The awkward silence was broken by Dr. Harrison. I have here, he placed an envelope on the table. Melanie's statement, made with psychological support, expressing her desire not to meet her biological father at this time. I also have Mr. Sterling's adoption request, which the child enthusiastically approves. Adoption? Diego turned livid. You're not even married. Not yet, Jasper said. But we will be. In 2 weeks. Laura looked at him, surprised. They had talked about it, but he hadn't mentioned a date. And even if we weren't, Jasper continued, I have more moral right over that girl than you will ever have in your entire life. Because I chose her. Every day I choose to be present. Diego looked at his lawyer, defeated. So that's it? I lock? You never had anything to lose, Laura said softly, almost pityingly. Because to lose, you would have needed to have something before, and you never wanted to have it. Diego left, heartbroken, his dreams of redemption shattered by the raw truth of his own choices. His lawyer mumbled something about withdrawing the motion. Outside in the hallway, Laura leaned against the wall, her legs weak. Is it over? She asked, hardly believing it. It's over, Dr. Harrison confirmed. He will formally withdraw tomorrow, and we can start the adoption process immediately after the wedding. Wedding in 2 weeks? Laura looked at Jasper. Were you planning this without telling me? I was going to ask you tonight, he admitted, running a hand through his hair. I had everything prepared. Romantic dinner, ring. Melanie was going to help, but I ended up ruining the surprise. Laura laughed through her tears. Idiot, you can't announce a wedding in the middle of a meeting with lawyers. Technically I can. I just did. He smiled. Then he turned serious. But the question still stands. Do you want to marry me, Laura? For real. Not just because of the adoption, but because I love you and want to spend the rest of my life with you and Melanie. Yes, she whispered. Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes. He kissed her right there in the hallway of the law office, while Dr. Harrison pretended to be very busy with his papers. Chapter 11. The Matriarch's Surrender. Helena Sterling learned about the wedding on social media. She showed up at the mansion the next morning, even angrier. You won't do this, she said to Jasper, invading his office. Marry a housekeeper? Adopt her daughter? You've completely lost your mind. No, Mother. For the first time in years, I'm completely sane. Jasper didn't stand up. He wasn't intimidated. And you'll have to accept it, or stay out of my life. I'm your mother, and I'm an adult man who is making his own choices. He finally stood up, facing her. You had your time to control my life. You chose my wife, my career, where I lived, how I lived. And where did that lead me? To an unhappy marriage and an empty life. Camila was perfect for you. Camila was perfect for you, for your world of appearances and status. Jasper's voice was charged with years of resentment. I loved her, yes, but our marriage was a golden cage, and you know it. Helena flinched as if slapped. Camila loved you, and I loved her. But love wasn't enough when we lived trying to please everyone but ourselves. He sighed. Mother, I won't be trapped in the past forever. Isabella and Camilla are gone, and it hurts. It hurts every single day. But Laura and Melanie gave me a reason to keep going. They gave me life again. That woman only wants your money. That woman, Laura said from the doorway, where she had heard everything, refused your money when you offered it. She refused $500,000 because I am not here out of self-interest. I am here because I love your son. Helena turned, surprised. I worked my whole life since I was 17 to support my daughter. Laura continued, walking into the office. I never asked anyone for anything. I never expected a rich man to save me. And when I met Jasper, I didn't know he would change my life. I only knew that my daughter saw a lonely man and wanted to keep him company. A manipulative child? Be careful, Jasper warned dangerously. Be very careful what you say about Melanie. Helena looked from one to the other, and for the first time seemed to truly see what was in front of her. Two adults in love, defending their family fiercely. You really love each other, she murmured, more to herself. It's not an arrangement. It's not self-interest. It's real. It always was, Jasper said. Helena was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was different. Tired, defeated, but also perhaps a little relieved. I didn't want you to suffer again. After losing Isabella and Camilla, you were so destroyed. I was afraid anything new would hurt you more. So you decided I should be alone forever? I decided you should be safe. Unexpected tears shone in Helena's eyes. And I was wrong. I tried to protect you so much that I almost lost you completely. Mother, let me finish. She took a deep breath. I don't like this situation. I don't like that it happened so fast that you barely know this woman. But, she looked at Laura, but I see you are a good mother. I see your daughter is well behaved, sweet, and I see that my son is smiling again. That has to count for something. Mrs. Sterling, Helena, call me Helena, she sighed. If I'm going to have a daughter-in-law, we better start on the right foot, or at least try. It wasn't a warm embrace. It wasn't complete acceptance, but it was my mess. And sometimes, beginnings were enough. Epilogue. Family chosen. Love renewed. The wedding took place 2 weeks later, simple and intimate. Only close family and friends. Beatrice was the maid of honor. Melanie was the flower girl, wearing a pink dress she chose herself, throwing petals with excessive enthusiasm. Helena was there, stiff but present, nodding politely to Laura. When Jasper saw his bride entering, a simple white dress, hair down, a nervous smile, he cried. He cried for the second chance life had given him, for the family he never imagined having again. You are beautiful, he whispered, as she reached the makeshift altar in the garden. You are too, she replied, laughing through her own tears. The vows were simple, but devastating. Laura, Jasper began, holding her hands. You came into my life when I was just an empty shell. I worked, I breathed, but I didn't live. And then your daughter asked if she could have coffee with me. He smiled at Melanie, who watched with bright eyes. And everything changed. You taught me that it's possible to start over, that it's possible to love again, that family isn't just blood, it's choice. And I choose you. Every day, for the rest of my life, I choose you. Laura could barely speak through her tears. Jasper, I spent so long just surviving, working, taking care of Melanie, with no time to dream. And then you appeared and reminded me that I'm more than a mother, more than a worker. I'm a woman who deserves love, who deserves to be happy. You gave me that, and in return, I give you everything I am. My heart, my loyalty, my family, forever." When the officiant declared them husband and wife, Melanie shouted, "Now we're real family!" And everyone laughed and cried at the same time. 6 months later, the adoption was finalized. Jasper officially became Melanie's father. The girl cried with happiness when the judge banged the gavel. "Now I have the same last name as Daddy," she announced to everyone in the courthouse without any embarrassment. Melanie Sterling. It sounded perfect. That night, the three of them had dinner together, as they did every night. Melanie talked about school, showed drawings, and complained about math homework. Normal, everyday, precious things. After putting Melanie to bed, Jasper and Laura stayed in her room for a moment, just watching. "Do you think Isabella would approve?" Laura asked softly. It was the first time she had mentioned Jasper's first daughter. He was quiet for a moment. "I think so. I think she would love having a little sister." He smiled sadly. "And I think Camila would approve too. She always wanted me to be happy." "Do you still miss them?" "Every day." He pulled Laura into his arms. "But I learned that you can carry the past without living in it. You can honor those we've lost without abandoning those we have." "Thank you," Laura whispered. "For what?" "For not giving up. For fighting for us. For proving that fairy tales can be real." "Fairy tales?" He laughed softly. "We're messier than any fairy tale." "Exactly." She kissed him softly. "We're real." A year after the day Melanie had first asked, "Can I have coffee with you?" The three of them were once again at the breakfast table. Only now it was different. There was no tension. There was no fear. Just a family having breakfast together, planning the day, laughing at inside jokes. "Daddy," Melanie said. And Jasper still got emotional every time he heard that word. "Can I bring my friend Sarah over to play tomorrow?" "Of course you can. How many friends do you want to bring?" "All of them." She bounced excitedly in her chair. "Melanie, sit properly," Laura warned. But she was smiling. Jasper looked at his wife and daughter, and his heart overflowed with gratitude. Gratitude for a brave little girl who had seen beyond appearances. Gratitude for a strong woman who had agreed to love again. Gratitude for a second chance he never imagined he deserved. "Hey!" He got their attention. "I love you." "We love you too," they replied in unison, then laughed. And there, on that ordinary Saturday morning, Jasper Sterling realized he had everything he ever wanted. Not a perfect life, but a real life, full of love, messiness, laughter, and second chances. A life that had begun with a simple question from a 6-year-old girl. "Can I have coffee with you?" And the answer had changed everything.